The Elixír of Life. Many centuries ago, a powerful emperor lived in Prague. He liked to disperse his wealth for the purchase of beautiful sculptures, paintings, rare Venetian mirrors, and other precious items that he had heard from his spies were the best of their kind. This emperor had a son named Jan, who did not approve of how his father was governing the country. He tried in vain to persuade him to be more frugal and to attend to his duties as a ruler, but there were still so many more items in the world that were available and special, and that the emperor still wanted to include in his collections. One day, he heard that it was possible to produce a substance that transforms a common metal into a precious one, but also that apparently it was only the most skilled alchemists who were able to do this. The emperor immediately became excited about having anything so powerful, and his enthusiasm knew no bounds. He invited to his court the greatest scholars and, as usual, was generous to them. However, so many of them eventually arrived from far and wide that they filled the entire street. The emperor procured for them everything that they requested, but instead of preparing a mysterious substance for him, they primarily relieved him of his ducats, and so the street came to be called Golden Street, and in the end, the emperor was not only without a miraculous substance, but also without his wealth. Then a mysterious stranger asked to be received and introduced himself as a master of alchemy and as being knowledgeable of all the procedures required for fulfilling the emperor's desires. He did not ask for anything for this service except for one thing. Apparently, for the successful completion of the work, he needed a dragon's heart, and it was essential that the emperor should obtain this item himself. The emperor was desperate. How could he obtain a dragon's heart? He would have to send an expedition to a faraway land, but he had no money. His son immediately offered his help. He said he would get the dragon's heart, but his father had to promise him that if even then the alchemist couldn't produce the substance, he must dedicate himself to ruling the country. The emperor agreed, and Jan set off on a long and dangerous journey. He crossed over mountains, he crossed the sea, and finally he came to a rocky desert. There could not be a worse place on earth, a place of fire and death, a place in which the charred bones and rusty armor testified to lost matches with an uneven rival who suddenly confronted an astonished Jan, who had neither a sword nor armor with him, just an object wrapped in some dirty old rags. The dragon did not wait for anything, and he spewed deadly fire with powerful force. At the same moment, Jan revealed what the old rags were protecting. It was the finest mirror from among his father's possessions. The flame bounced back from it directly at the dragon, which immediately turned into a pile of ash, in the middle of which shone an undamaged dragon's heart. Jan set off back towards home, but the dragon's poisonous breath had taken nearly all his strength from him, and though he felt that his end was approaching, he still strived to complete his task. However, as soon as he knocked on the town gate and passed on what he had to deliver, he collapsed on the bed and waited conciliatorily for the day when his own tired heart would stop beating. The alchemist locked himself in his workshop for 3 days and 3 nights with the dragon's heart. He ordered that he was not to be disturbed, while, accompanied by strange phenomena visible through the windows and terrifying geysers of sparks emerging from the chimney, he was finishing his great work. Finally, he handed the emperor a small flagon, at the bottom of which there was some red powder. If you add it to the molten metal, it turns to gold. When you dissolve it in red wine, you'll have an elixir that cures every disease, was what the alchemist told the emperor, and then he simply bowed and walked away. The emperor did not hesitate for a moment and sprinkled the powder into red wine, which he gave to his son to drink. On the second day, his son got up from his deathbed and bowed to his father, avowing that he had finally found his philosopher's stone, namely, the wisdom to realize that the most valuable asset in the world is a healthy and happy person. Today, however, scholars do not produce the elixir of life just for one individual person. They are busy in their laboratories discovering substances and procedures that treat and prolong the lives of us all.